Welcome CMA candidates and finance students to this explainer. Okay, picture this. You're sitting right there in the exam room, the clock is ticking down, and you're staring at a multiple choice question that simply asks you to calculate a company's profit margin. Your heart kind of skips a beat. Wait, do they mean the operating profit margin or the net profit margin? And which of those numbers do you pull from that massive income statement they just dumped in front of you? Look, if you've ever felt that momentary panic, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to completely demystify the difference between operating profit margin and net profit margin. We'll keep it simple, highly visual, and completely exam-focused. By the time we're done here, you're going to know exactly which ratio to use, what each one actually tells you about a company's health, and how to spot those sneaky traps exam writers literally love to set for you. So, let's dive right in. Here is our 6-step roadmap for today. We'll start with the income statement staircase, then hit operating profit margin, followed by net profit margin. After that, we'll look at margins in action, interpreting the margin story, and finally avoiding common exam traps. All right, part 1, the income statement staircase, finding the numerators. Now, to truly master these profitability ratios, you have to understand exactly where they live on the financial statements. The really beautiful thing about both of the margins we're looking at today is that they are anchored to the exact same base, and that is net sales. Net sales is always your denominator, period. The only thing that changes is your numerator, the number on top. We find that numerator by walking down the income statement. I want you to imagine the income statement as a staircase. Up at the very top landing, we have step 1, net sales. This is all the revenue the company brought in minus any returns or discounts. Now, as we take a step down, we subtract the cost of goods sold, and boom, we land at step 2, gross profit. But we aren't stopping there today, we gotta go deeper. So we subtract our operating expenses to reach step 3, operating income. And finally, if we walk all the way down to the very bottom of the stairs, subtracting interest, taxes, and other non-operating items, we hit step 4, net income. Your exam questions are simply asking you to pull a number from one of these lower steps and divide it by that net sales number at the very top. Moving on to part 2, operating profit margin explained, the core engine. The formula here is incredibly straightforward, but you absolutely have to commit it to memory. Operating profit margin equals operating income divided by net sales. That's step 3 on our staircase, divided by step 1. Whenever you see the word operating on the exam, I want you to immediately think of the day-to-day core functions of the business. Just remember, we are looking at the income generated strictly from what the business was built to do. Now, what's really interesting is what this percentage actually represents in the real world. The operating profit margin is the percentage of revenue remaining after paying for the merchandise, that's your cost of goods sold, and after paying for selling, general, and administrative expenses, which we usually just call SG&A. So why do we call this the core engine? Well, because it deliberately ignores taxes and it ignores interest expense. It reveals pure operational performance. Basically, it answers the question, is this core business model actually working, before the government and the bankers step in to take their cut. All right, part 3, net profit margin explained, the final word. So we're continuing our walk all the way down the staircase now. The formula here is net profit margin equals net income divided by net sales. Notice that the denominator, net sales, has not changed one bit. It's still anchoring our calculation. But our numerator has dropped all the way to the very bottom step of the income statement, net income. The crucial point here is that this ratio is the bottom line reality. This is the percentage of sales that remains after absolutely everything has been accounted for. So that includes the core operating expenses, sure, but it also subtracts other gains or losses, the interest expense from debt, and, of course, income taxes. This metric finally takes into account the effects of a company's financial structure, how much debt they're using to finance their operations, and their specific tax burdens. Next up, part 4, margins in action, the numbers. Let's look at a concrete example. Let's actually put these formulas to the test with some real numbers. This brilliantly illustrates how a massive top-line number just gets whittled down over time. We'll look at some income statement data pulled straight from the study materials. Let's say we start with net sales of $1.8 million. That is our 100% baseline. After we deduct the cost of goods sold and our SG&A expenses, we are left with an operating income of $190,000. If we take that $190K and divide it by our $1.8 million in net sales, we get an operating profit margin of 10.6%. But we aren't done yet. The company still has to pay for other losses, interest on its debt, and income taxes. Once all of that has paid out, the final net income is just $81,000. Divide that 81 grand by the 1.8 million in net sales, and we get a net profit margin of 4.5%. Just look at those percentages side by side for a second. 10.6% for operating versus just 4.5% for net. This stark contrast emphasizes just how much profit gets eaten up by non-operating factors. The core business generates nearly 11 cents of profit for every single dollar of sales, but by the time the lenders and the tax authorities are paid, the shareholders are literally only left with 4.5 cents on the dollar. Moving to part 5, interpreting the margin story beyond the formulas. So the exam won't just ask you to calculate a number like a robot. It will ask you what that number actually means in the real world. I want to pose this exact scenario directly to you because I guarantee you will see a variation of it on your test. Imagine you're comparing a company's ratios over 2 years. Year over year, the operating margin holds perfectly steady, no change. But suddenly the net margin just plummets. What's the story those numbers are telling you? Think about what sits between operating income and net income on our staircase. Well, the answer lies in how the business is funded. A dropping net margin right alongside a stable operating margin points directly to increased debt burdens, maybe higher interest rates, tax issues, or a massive one-time non-operating loss. It tells management and investors that the core merchandise and sales operations, they are not failing. The team selling the product is doing their job just as efficiently as before. The problem lies further down the staircase in how the company is financed or taxed. And finally, part 6, avoiding common exam traps and securing your points. Okay, we are pivoting to the climax of this explainer, navigating the actual pitfalls that trip up even the most prepared candidates. The study materials give us a massive flashing warning sign right here. Be alert to inconsistent definitions. Exam writers will deliberately test your vigilance. They love to present you with modified definitions of return, or they'll give you a dense block of text and just wait to see if you accidentally grab the wrong numerator. You really have to read carefully. Let's actually list out the specific traps to watch for. Trap number 1, simply pulling the wrong numerator. If the question asks for operating margin, whatever you do, do not grab net income. Trap number 2, and this is a huge one, confusing EBIT, which is earnings before interest and taxes, with operating income. Now, while some simplified textbooks treat these as the exact same thing, in strict accounting terms, standard operating income only deducts SG&A. EBIT, however, might include other income and loss that falls below the operating line. In our earlier example, operating income was $190,000, but EBIT was only $150,000 because of an other loss. If you grab EBIT when they specifically ask for operating income, you lose the points. Finally, watch out for numerator adjustments, like questions that specifically ask you to exclude unusual or non-recurring items to find a normalized profit margin. We're going to wrap up our explainer today with this final thought for you to ponder. If a company has a completely flawless operating margin, meaning its product flies off the shelves with super tight overhead controls, but it has a terrible net margin because it's drowning in high-interest debt, is it inherently a bad business or is it just a badly financed one? Keep that crucial distinction in mind. Always watch your numerators, and you will have absolutely no problem uncovering the true story behind the numbers on exam day.